Friends and family, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for joining me here at the American News Network with Chris Sanders. And on your phones, on your smartphones, you can go to the App Store and type Major News Network. And then you can see our app, and then it's 24/7 there. Jackwagon Joe, he just approved $725 million to be expedited immediately to the Ukraine, courtesy of the United States of America. And I want you to think about that this Thanksgiving, as we have 107,000 homeless veterans. You know, with that 725 million, we could have given each one of them $6,775 today, or made that a down payment into a house. You see, I did the budget, and $10 billion would actually home every one of them where we bought their home, paid for their electric bill, made their retirement. That'd be real Social Security, in my opinion. But I discovered something else. So he fast-tracked $725 million to the Ukraine, while we have 107,000 homeless veterans. But does it get better than that? Is he even is he even more scandalous than that? Well, yeah, he is. And so what you're seeing here is that his full budget potential is $24 billion. That's right, he wants to steal, before he gets out of office, $24 billion. Now, remember, I did the budget. $10 billion would take every veteran off the streets, give them a home until the day they died, and for their families. Putin does this. Why can't we? Now, we're trying it. Look at these criminals behind me. Criminal number one, the clown, and the joker. And we've been taken over. Now, I'm going to go over U.S. constitutional violations right here, right now. Starting with the opening title, basically. They have violated this Constitution in the preamble. We do not have general peace and tranquility, and the general welfare sucks. We've given all of our money for general welfare and FEMA to the Ukraine and Israel. And by the way, you don't know this, but the Ukraine is actually all the Russians that were Jews. So these wars, we pulled out of Afghanistan, and we're fighting a Jewish Nazi war in the Ukraine. Just go ahead and ask the Azov Battalion. And we're fighting a Jewish war. It is a Jewish supremacy war that we're fighting now today, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go over some problems here. And our founding fathers gave us the tools to keep us out of this malarkey, but we're walking into it. It says, we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility. Well, how do you have domestic tranquility when you let 18,000 murderers convicted into our country? 18,000, 20,000, some all pedophiles, murderers, rapists, you let them out. You're violating the opening preamble here. This is the supreme law of the land because of the supremacy clause. Provide for the common defense. How in the world do you do that with an open border? They didn't have the Red Dawn parachute in here. No, you flew them in on jets. And how do you promote the general welfare? That's another violation. See, this Congress, this Senate, this president, he's the result of the legislative branch stealing the executive branch on the last one. And by this election, we have the quantitative proof. Poof, where'd the extra 20 million people come from, Jackwagon Joe? Now, I'm going to tell you what else that they violate here by letting all these illegal aliens in. The Posterity clause. What is the Posterity clause? What does that mean? Well, posterity is the promise to my children and my children's children. See, you got to look up the words that these founding fathers put in here, and by letting a whole bunch of illegal aliens in here, you're diminishing the posterity my children have. What about the Mexican American that came here legally? What about the African American that has slave roots? And you've ruined his posterity. What about the Japanese American that was in an internment camp? What about the Indians that are here? That word posterity is being violated, and they need to be thrown out. Term limitations. See, Matt Gaetz didn't want to get involved again because he would be in bed with the vipers. This Doge thing needs to happen. That is the Department of Government Efficiency, where Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk will spearhead something with Marjorie Taylor Greene. And don't think that Matt Gaetz is out. No. He'll be the right-hand person with Pam Bondi as they dissect stuff. And I heard Trump's going dark, and so be it. Please, good. 55 days in, where are we at? Well, we've got China snipping the cable lines with the supertanker in 2 different areas. So we know that China is already working in tandem to disseminate the communications throughout Europe. Why? Oh, there's a war brewing, my friends. We're going to go on to this, but it'd be a good teacher if I drowned you in the Constitution. It might be like my Bible verses to some of you, and it might put you to sleep, but I want you to know something. Netanyahu is a total liar. He promised a truce. He had Jackwagon Joe basically talk about the truce. And then immediately as Jackwagon Joe was on television, you ought to see the translation of what this guy was saying in Hebrew. He doesn't want peace. Now, but I'm going to back it up here to the Baltic cable lines being cut. And this is so that you know that there are covert actions that are happening so that a war takes place. That's what we're looking at right now. And who benefits from these Baltic seas and these cables being cut now? So we have a line being cut from Germany straight on out, and then from Lithuania straight on out. So the German defense minister, Boris Pistorius, described the severing of the 2 as a sabotage. Now, we have the same Chinese cargo ship, but it left from Russia. They say that it dragged its anchors. But as you can see through the map here behind me, one of them is clearly going from Rostock to Finland, and it was cut in the middle right there. So I think this is a tit for tat. If we're going to take down the Nord Stream pipeline, Putin's going to cut your cables. Why? Well, because Kaliningrad is right there, and he doesn't want you to communicate. This is pre-warfare going on, and if you're going to talk tough, you're going to get tough. And I think that these are just shocking little revelations you could do to put together 2 and 2. So the communication line to Finland has been cut in Germany and from Slovakia, and these are the things that he's going to do before he comes in and really hands it to you. Now, some very interesting things also happened. We had 200 bombs hit Ukraine last night, but the day before, wow, this is pretty amazing. We had over 2,000 drones fly over the Ukraine and deliver a whole bunch of stuff. So Russia's shattered its own record for drone strikes against the Ukraine, launching a staggering 188 drones in one part of the assault as it heightened fears for Zelensky. Now I'm going to tell you something out there. You hand over Zelensky, and you hand him over quickly so fewer people can stop dying. What has there been, 750,000 good Ukrainian men that have died because of our puppet government, the United States, meddling with Mother Russia? And now you're letting this old, decrepit man, Jackwagon Joe, give you 50 attacking missiles to a crazy actor, a good Hebrew one, though, I will say. Our puppet out there, but then he's playing with real toys and firing them at Moscow. So now this Polish base, it's on the scope. Germany, you're on the scope. Hungary's shielding itself, but they haven't been talking smack. Now Italy has said they would arrest Netanyahu. So would England. So would Ireland. You need to hand over Netanyahu. You need to hand over Zelensky. Then you need to examine the United States and the war criminals that we have here. And we have officials over there in the Ukraine, over there in Poland, the war cabinet in the Ukraine. And guess what they're telling us? That over 50% of the money that we sent is being laundered by our own government and their officials. Stuff that we know by this guy. And then Zelensky and then Netanyahu are going to want to come back and live in Miami. Why not? Their families live here, right? So these are our puppets basically doing it. And I'm going to let you know, it's pretty interesting. So this war that's going on, Putin also said he's going to do a war against LGBTQ, the alphabet soup. So is Trump. Well, good job. It's that wrecking a ball offense, that stuff that's an abomination in the Bible that has brought America to its knees, to where now we look like a laughing clown in a country that I do not recognize. 77% of our kids can't fight. They're not eligible to serve today. Okay, so if you're the remaining 23% and you see a society of people that are hooked on ADHD and Adderall and all these chemical suppressants, are you going to want to defend them and that way of life? Are you going to tolerate it? Or are you going to see that countries like Russia that have God and that uphold to those values are countries like we used to be in the 80s and going into the 90s, but I don't see that with this generation that we've inherited today. So Putin's laid this bomb map. I'm going to give you a heads up. What cities I saw, I said, please don't let certain cities that I go to be in there. So there's going to be about 5 million people on his map that'll die in New York, about 3 million in Washington, D.C. So he's got D.C. and New York on his list. That's known. He also has L.A. and San Diego on his list. And that's known. We're looking at around 4 million and 2 million out there. And those are on his lists. That's what he's letting us know. But then I was shocked, and it was a kick in the nuts that he also had Houston, Texas on that list. And then he also had Dallas, Fort Worth on that list. And the blast, let's see, just so you could know, if you're in downtown Dallas, it would hit all the way almost up into Denton. And that's if he used just one of these babies that was mildly packed. Now, you've seen the Oreshnik, the hazelnut. This is just a bigger package, and he would have to pack them down so that he doesn't blow up the whole state of Texas, because we don't know how letting all that space air would actually react to us. But the Oreshnik is his answer for the ATACMS. If we want to give Zelensky ATACMS, he's like, okay, I'll create a similar type of weapon, but it's nuclear packed, and it's something that we're not going to be able to deal with. Now, let's see here. We had 40 terabytes of Mossad data that was breached by, they're saying Iran, I'm saying no, Russia and China. And you're going to have everybody hacked, in my opinion, by Russia and China working in tandem together. It's their specialty. It's what they're good at. And that's something to pay attention to. Also, as Biden was at the G20, he showed up for a couple of pictures, but then him and Trudeau were actually excluded from the group because everybody knows that they're just war-mongering beta male pansies. So Joe Biden's final G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro ended with the diplomatic blunder, go figure. and Biden, along with Fidel Castro's son, Justin Trudeau, and the ever so interesting Italian Giorgia Meloni, they were missed in this photo. And Xi Jinping and Modi. Now, poor Modi. Modi's sitting back with the checkers and the chess cards. I think that he played his cards right with the United States election because he was either going to get an Indian woman or a vice president married to an Indian woman. And so India is in like Flynn. He was thinking correctly. If you want to talk about genius chess moves, I think Modi's been making a lot of them. People don't know how we think here in America. I'm thinking that our president was stolen. He's finally back. We can finally rebuild. And my heart and prayer goes out to Pakistan. I hope that you can understand that what happened to Imran Khan almost happened to us. And it happened to him, and you need to get your country back. Because every country deserves a president that actually loves them. Not some puppet. That guy behind me is a puppet. And who does he work for? Well, there are certain things that I have to show you, that I can't say as easy as I'd like. And we got to work with the bots and everything that we have. France and the United Kingdom are sending their armies into the Ukraine. Architect is sitting here behind me. Jackwagon Joe. Hezbollah fired 400 rockets into Tel Aviv in that area, and Putin wins the Kursk region. So we have a whole bunch of things that are going on. Russia's using the Ukraine as a testing ground for very high-end stuff. So he's got a second big victory in the Ukraine in 24 hours. And Vladdy P and the KGB is moving on in. Now, as far as other things that are pretty interesting on the home front here in America, we had Rachel Maddow and Joy Behar and Whoop-de-Woo Goldberg. They might be getting either canned or purchased by Mr. Musk. Yep, that's correct. And how will that go? Well, I'm sure he's going to tell them that they're fired or to pick up the janitor bucket somewhere. And that's just the way it is. Now, on the real side of things, I think Kamala has been, showing how she's prepping before she's doing her videos. And, a lot of our people have different ways in which they get down. They do. And I think that we know that Hills Up Harris, probably started out with maybe one bottle. That was probably from hanging out with Nancy Pelosi. But listen, Putin is not going to be hanging around all this stuff. And he's coming on in with the KGB. And meanwhile, we got our puppet going. And dude is riding around on horseback naked while he's profiteering. And we're going down into the dust. 55 days we're going to be held hostage here in the United States. We don't know if the best of our best, Hillary Clinton, can go in and literally take out every single person, but she's the best hitman we have. Can't tell you how many people, not even little Kim is nervous about Hillary getting around. So these are just things that you have to know on Thanksgiving Day and what to be thankful for. I don't want you to think about our 107,000 homeless veterans because our government surely doesn't. But will this get me in trouble by the Sugar Mountain? I don't know. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But I hope that he doesn't mind this type of stuff streaming because, when you repost stuff here, try not to say too much because the bots will get you. Some people are like, well, how come I got regulated and you didn't? It's like, well, you probably said something on your post, so just share it. And he's coming to our side. He's actually, just say, you know what? He's at Mar-a-Lago right now. No kidding. Mark Zuckerberg's at Mar-a-Lago. I think he's going to be joining sides with the right side. He's understanding as far as the grip. He's understanding that chicks are hotter on our side. Boris Yeltsin got the picture. But you know what? He tries to be Trump. And it's a matter on if they all understand. We got big guns coming in. Doge is moving in. And Doge is going to move in hard. And that's all I'm going to tell you with that. So we have, why is this all happening? Why is the Doge going to happen? Well, it's happening because Jackwagon Joe just gave Zelensky all these missiles. He had 8 more of them coming today. And how is Vladdy P and the KGB going to respond? Are we going to make it in the back of the limo? Trump's going dark with Elon Musk. Maybe Zuckerberg's coming on over. But will we make it? More days. We have Estonia, and they're pleading to slow down, to, because in all honesty, they'd be taken over in a day. I think Finland, you'd be taken over in a day too, because guns and tanks can't take on bombs and missiles. And that's, if you go on that war of attrition, we're going to have complete victory by Putin within just a little amount of time. All of the NATO countries, you're talking about 500,000 troops, okay? Putin's coming in with 3.5 million people just in Russia alone. The added 2 million in China, that's 5.5. Then he's got North Korea with an unknown amount of people that need to be fed because they're hungry. Then we have Yemen and Hamas and the Houthis and 2 billion extra people from the Islamic Empire. So we have a population that even if the women and children pick up guns in Europe, they couldn't take on what they're facing. So the only country completely safe, and the guy that was thinking again was this guy named Viktor Orban. And I will say that because he put an entire fence around his country to protect Hungary, Hungarian music, Hungarian way of life, their orchestra, their history, and as such, hopefully, Hungary will be protected. We have NATO troops, we have French and United Kingdom troops and NATO troops in the Ukraine, and there are many of them that have already been killed. The war is going on. We have now 55 days until a transition. Can we make it that far? This truce and this ceasefire, I'm going to let you know that this Netanyahu, as he says the ceasefire and he gets Biden to negotiate it, as soon as I see Biden negotiating it and talking about it, I was reading his transcript and what he was saying in Hebrew, and he was like, basically, he ain't going to, he's not talking about peace. So here, I'm going to read this. Look at this. He goes, I promise you victory, citizens of Israel, and we will achieve victory. This is what he says. We will complete the task of what? We will bring home all of our hostages. We will ensure that Gaza is no longer a threat to Israel, and will return the residents of the north back home safely. The war will not end until we realize all its goals, including the residents of the north safely home. And I tell you, it will happen, just like it happened in the south. My friends, residents of the north, I am proud of you. I'm proud of your perseverance, and I'm totally committed to your security, to your future. Anyways, he's going as far as what they went to do. And as soon as Joe Biden was on TV talking about the peace agreement, this guy is on TV talking about, we're going to take them down and blow them to bits. No kidding. This is a war speech right here. And so as Joe Biden's literally talking about how proud he was getting lied to by this guy. So these were simultaneous videos that were going on. So he's talking about blowing them up. In the meantime, hours before, he had talked to Joe Biden, and Joe Biden was very happy. Now, this has gone on with Joe Biden and Netanyahu many times already. And look at, he always has shades on in the White House, and then he takes them off. He's either doing the CSI thing there, you know, where you look cool, or I just don't get it. So he's negotiated this, and like I said, he's talking about this while that other video is simultaneously going on. So, Jackwagon Joe, you want to take it away here for us? Or... maybe not. Let's see.
That separates Israel and Lebanon.
Okay, here.
Conflict began the day after the October 7th attack by Hamas on Israel. Hours later, at 2 a.m. in the morning, Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations backed by Iran attacked Israel.
Well, you know, every bit of what he's saying is true, ladies and gentlemen. I mean,
Israel did not.
So, I mean,
territory once again.
So he's talking about this ceasefire.
Will not be allowed to be rebuilt. And over the next 60 days, Israel will gradually withdraw its remaining forces. And civilians on both sides will soon be able to safely return to their communities.
Okay, simultaneously this.
הבטחתי לכם ניצחון ונשיג ניצחון. נשלים את חיסול החמאס, נשיב את כל חטופינו, נבטיח שעזה לא תהווה עוד איום על ישראל, ונחזיר את תושבי הצפון בבטחה לבתיהם. המלחמה לא תסתיים עד שנשיג את כל יעדיה, ובכלל זה עד שלא נשיב את תושבי הצפון.
Okay. So, there is no peace plan. Now, I'm going to go over what I consider to be constitutional violations. Again, I've gone over certain things in this Constitution. Okay, Article 1, Section 8. To raise and support armies, but no appropriation of money to that use shall be for longer than a term of 2 years. So by him going out and giving another $725 million, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Congress and the Senate have not voted to go to war. This right here is aiding and abetting another country, aiding and abetting the enemy. This is treason. This is bribery. We have that country saying by officials that 50% of everything, this is how the Democrats raised $1 billion. They're still down 20 million. More than 2 years. And so by as such, they're in violation of not only the Constitution, but they're also in violation of the 2 years clause here in the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8. Now, Article 1, Section 9, I want you to know that luckily we got Trump in because every one of us voted for him. Even a lot of the illegal aliens. Oh, yeah, Article 1, Section 9, the migration or importation of such persons as the United States now existing shall think proper to admit, not exceeding $10 for each person. And Laura Ingram, I'm surprised when you found that $500,000 in Jackwagon Joe's bank account, you didn't put 2 and 2 together. Now, here we're going in Article 1, and this is Section 9. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States. Why was that put in there? Because they didn't want Congress to introduce anybody as His Excellency or His Highness or His King. It was illegal. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States. And no person holding any office of profit shall, without the consent of Congress, accept present emolument of office of any title of any kind whatsoever from any king, prince, or foreign state. No title of nobility. And then in Section 10, it says, no state shall enter into a treaty, alliance, or confederation, all the way down to, or grant any title of nobility. Now, why am I bringing that up? Well, we had a violation of that. And Israel's lobbyists are so strong that we start violating our Constitution, and it's caught on camera. And we haven't really gone over this, but really this would even invalidate Speaker Johnson. Oh yeah, because he called Netanyahu His Excellency. Oh yeah. And so we have this going on here, and he's, here's Netanyahu in Congress. And hold on a second here. There we go. I want to make sure that you can hear it because we have Speaker Johnson behind him, and he says, he introduces him as His Excellency. Okay? I want you to hear this.
Members of Congress, I now have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you His Excellency Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel. Prime Minister of Israel. Members of Congress, I now have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you His Excellency Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel.
Speaker Johnson, and nobody in Congress, nobody got it, but I got it loud and clear. You made a constitutional violation as the Speaker of the House. It was not recognized. This was put in there in the first article. They were warning us about a foreign state coming in. And then the fact that Congress and the Senate and everybody clapped. Oh, I'm telling you. The lobbying of Israel. See, they steal Peter and rob Paul, and it comes back and it hits our halls of Congress. Not only is the Ukraine a laundromat, dollar for dollar, but so is Israel. And then those lobbyists come in. They know who to pay. They pay our senators and representatives, and then they aid and abet the enemy. They commit what's called treason. And this man has more power to do for our kids to die than even our president. Who's calling the shots? They'll clap louder for him than they will. Again, no title of nobility shall be granted by the United States. Was he not just called His Excellency Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel? Even later on it says Congress shall make no law regarding the establishment of a religion, but this war we fight is Judaism versus Islam. Congress needs to be completely fired and dismantled because of this. You want to be a Department of Government efficiency, clean that out, everybody that clapped. Even Marco Rubio, your Secretary of State, Trump, I will say, if you want to talk about being efficient, he's so efficient. He's gotten over $1 million in the last year from this Netanyahu. Prove me wrong. So who's your allegiance to? The guy that robbed us $2 million and gave back $1 million to the politician? Because that's what's going on here. You're not fooling us. I'm just pointing it out so that most of the people in America can see it. And if you're living in a car, This is why. If you're living underneath the bridge, this guy behind me is why. I see a disability with Jack Wagon Joe. He's been voted out. He wants to start World War III, use this guy as a puppet, and Zelensky as well, our laundromats. What do you see, Chris, is the answer? I'm saying it's Article 2, Section 1. It's the disability to be removed. And I'm not talking about just the disability of the president, but the president and the vice president, and assigning Trump as the immediate president. It says, of removal, death, resignation, or inability both of the president and vice president, declaring what officer shall then act as president, and such officer shall act accordingly until the disability be removed or a president shall be elected. The president was Donald Trump. The disability is Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. Article 2, Section 1, get the lead out of your ass. Congress, Senate, get together now. Save America. We're going into World War III with the Sarmat. Or do you not have the balls to go to Washington, D.C. because Putin might introduce you to Sarmat there now that he's put it on the map because of your shenanigans? Because you're paid off by this guy and he didn't really have any money. He just took the money he's washing with that secret money and giving you back the secret sauce. Oh yeah, that secret sauce, you see. Because God can't serve God and money. Section 2, except in cases of impeachment. Now I'm going to go to Section 2(4). The President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for convicted of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. What do you call it when you get $1,000 from Israel? What do you call it when you get $1 million? Like Marco Rubio, I would call that bribery. I would call that treason. As defined by what, Chris? Article 2, Section 4 of the good old Constitution of the United States of America. While for some reason, all of our Congress members either have a flag of Israel or the Ukraine on their chest. So do all of our kids that get brainwashed easy. What's wrong with the red, white, and blue? Why don't you go live in those other countries if you have nothing to do? You think this guy represents something behind us? Read the Bible. Grace was given unto those that believe. He doesn't believe. You have to believe in Christ to have that grace. Do you have that grace? What's the next thing that we need to go to? Well, it'd be Article 3, Section 3. It's happening, just this treason happening behind me. Treason against the United States shall consist on levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies and giving them aid or comfort. Well, did you know that even if we get attacked, it's not in the clause for Israel to assist us in any way, so we're giving aid to an enemy. Same thing with the Ukraine. They're not coming here to rescue Uncle Sam. No, we're giving aid to an enemy. The words are right here to impeach every last one of these criminals. Get to work, Congress, or we need to fire all of you. You're all tits on a boar, in my opinion, as you let this farce scam, international war criminal funded by you, because for some reason our speaker's so retarded, he gave an introduction using a title of nobility, even though that's a constitutional violation in 2 areas. And now he's letting this guy talk because they've all gotten kickbacks. I'm using Marco Rubio's $1 million. Let's give them all $1 million because it was our money to begin with, just like the laundromat in the Ukraine. Trump, wake up. Here's the swamp. This is as swampy as it gets. You want to drain the swamp? You need to drain this guy. Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against him. But see, this guy is tied into another guy. And how I put that together, well, that's going to be for you to understand who truly and what truly. runs America. So there's a guy that works hand in hand, okay? And here, listen to what he's saying.
Large developed countries that have xenophobic immigration policies. They don't allow anybody to come in. Shrinking unemployment, shrinking demographics. These countries will rapidly develop robotics and AI and technology. And if the promise, I didn't say it's going to happen, but if the promise of all that transforms productivity, which most...
So welcome to the world of AK-4, M16s, grenade launchers, AI, and everything that's going to replace us. And they have investments in every world and everywhere, including my end into the energy sector. This would be Larry Fink of BlackRock right behind me. And the control that they have is far and wide. Now, treason against the United States. Did we have it happen? Oh yeah, we had it happen. In many ways, in my opinion. I believe that General Miley committed treason, the way he pulled out. And we can have other people say their opinions, but the way we pulled out of Afghanistan was just unacceptable. We aided and abetted the enemy. We had other bases. They could have flown this to Saudi Arabia. They could have flown this to Israel, to Iraq. It's not like they had to get it all here. They left it there to aid and abet the enemy. Trump was right. And he interviewed this guy. This guy turned out to be a total schmuck. You picked a guy because of how he looked, instead of judging him by his heart. Don't forget, Samuel did the same thing with Saul. The president, vice president, and all civil officers shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. The way they pulled out of Afghanistan aided and abetted the enemy with 20 years of war weaponry to the Taliban. It was the same exact crime that Barack Hussein Obama did when he pulled out and left 20 years of war equipment to ISIS. These are the things that these guys are going to cover up as soon as they leave office, with a pardon to his kids. What should the payment be for destroying our country? Normally I would let Ward Carroll talk. He gives great advice. Giving them aid or comfort. Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid or comfort. I'd say they adhered to ISIS through Obama and to the Taliban through Jackwagon Joe. They aided and adhered to their enemies, and they gave them aid and comfort. What is comfort? Well, lots of beds were there, lots of machine guns. That's aid, that's comfort, that's treason. Punishment by treason, hemp and gravity. Did it happen? Oh, you betcha. These are the things that need to be decided, or we're just going to have basically everybody walk on us. And is this a serious time? Oh, yes, it is. First 6 missiles, then 8. Zelensky's going to fire all 50 ATACMS. Russia is really trying to hold back what he's going to do. Everybody's quaking, saying, are we going to make it till Trump gets in? America, we have 55 days to be held hostage by Jackwagon Joe here in the United States. And until he's taken out of office, and there's no reason they can't. I told you there's an inability. There's been treason that's been discovered. Congress doesn't get the lead out. I hope Matt Gaetz gets rid of every single one of them. We have Article 2, Section 1, a disability be removed or a president shall be elected. A president was elected. The disability should be removed immediately. That's the U.S. Constitution, Article 2, Section 1. Now, this administration also let an invasion happen. This is Article 4, Section 4, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion. There are 4 states that failed the invasion clause of the U.S. Constitution. This is the supremacy clause, so they can't blame the government. This is the can't states. This is California, Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, and Texas. California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas, they can't do their job. They all had the damn money to do it just through their state oil and gas taxes, trust me. We have cripples, derelicts, and people that can't get the lead out of their ass to open the door and help flood America to turn this into a theatrical con skit for you and I. We have Article 4, Section 4 violations. They have allowed invasion. Every sanctuary city, you need to arrest them on this. Understand, and how did they do that? They can't fall back on their state constitution because Article 6 says that this is the supreme law of the land, the supremacy clause. Now I'm going to go to one other thing in here, and this was the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment, Section 3, and this is what Trump gets so scared on, the insurrection. Let me tell you something. January 6th was not an insurrection. It was the right of the people to peacefully assemble for the redress and grievances against the government. The only person that was murdered, the only fire that was shot was by the government against Ashley Babbitt and killing a 20-year Air Force veteran and never saying that they were sorry for the crimes that they committed. Then they locked up every single January 6er, including firemen, school teachers, and stand-up United States citizens just for being there doing their constitutional right. Yeah. Now, I get it, because when somebody killed Kennedy and Martin Luther King couldn't be CIA, FBI related. They also did the same thing with Leonard Peltier. See, because it's the Sioux Lakota Indian nation, a sovereign nation. But when they went in and then just jailed their political spokesperson, Leonard Peltier, who's now been in prison for 50 years, they turned the sovereign nation into a reservation. So we need to make that a sovereign nation once again. We need to make America a sovereign nation once again. And the shadow government made the Sioux Lakota Nation a reservation, and the shadow government has made America a reservation as well. So let's get off this reservation together. Let's take back our countries. Let's take back the Pueblo Indian Nation. Let's take back the Sioux Lakota Nation. You free Leonard Peltier today, or you do it really fast. You stop listening to these old decrepit white dudes that need to be in an old folks home. You need to understand that the baby boomers are dying out rapidly, and as such, they've let in the doors for the country to self-destruct. It's kind of like one of those messages. There is no more power grid in the Ukraine. Kiev is now surrounded. The quicker you hand in Zelensky, the quicker you'll have peace in the Ukraine. Same thing with the IDF out there, because from what the Ayatollah and the word is out on the streets of 2 billion Muslims, is that you will not have peace until you hand over Benjamin Netanyahu dead. Now those are the words of the Ayatollah and 2 billion Muslims, and the theatrics over October 8th, the shenanigans. If you're buying that garbage, don't, because that's the spin that they're using to destroy our country, and they're doing it very, very fast. The Oreshnikov missile, the Oreshnik, is something that basically we cannot stop, and it is the Sarmat in a smaller version, and it has been proven to be successful. They've got these things mobile. We don't even know where they're coming from. Stuff that we have that's that size. Now, look at this story that's coming up here. Okay, now this is what I was telling you. This is where we have politicians from Russia, from the Ukraine and Poland, pointing the finger at the Biden-Zelensky relationship, where they can say, without a doubt, that over 50% of the money that we're sending into the Ukraine is being funneled back and laundered by our own politicians. 50% of the West embezzled. So that means out of the 725 million, we've got at least 350 some odd million dollars coming back to these politicians. Every dollar that they take that's even coming back through a Ukrainian lobbyist, we need to fire the politicians. They know damn well where this money's coming from. Same thing with the people taking money from Israel. They know damn well that this money's our money that's come to them from the war, and it's coming back to them as aid through a lobbyist, and it's making our country fall apart from the inside. That is how, and one of the mechanisms of our shadow government and how they exist and how they're completely destroying America altogether. But it's okay. It reminds me of something, as long as we're going to listen to the current Jews of today. And I guess I'll let Mel Brooks break it down for you here for just a little bit, as he wants to talk about certain times.
Moses, this is the Lord thy God commanding you to obey my law. Do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. A deaf man could hear you.
What? Nothing, Gornish, forget it. Oh, Lord, why have you chosen me? What would you have me do for you? I shall give you my laws, and you shall take them unto the people. Yes, Lord! Lord, I shall give these laws unto thy people. Hear me! Oh, hear me! Oh, pay heed! The Lord Jehovah, has given unto you these 10 commandments for all to obey.
All right, now, went to a school where we had to do this at one school then the other, and then I realized, Jesus, I guess I'm at a school full of Jews here. But in Fiddler on the Roof, which is a great play, they're all Jews from the Ukraine. Yeah. So I'm going to close with that. And so this Ukrainian war is a Jew war, Russian Jew. And the Israeli war is a Jew war. And we are now broke, and we have 107,000 veterans that are homeless in the cold right now on Thanksgiving. But these two Jew wars are making sure that they're homeless. And Larry Fink is spending our money on destruction instead of love. Here, let's hear what they say.
All right. We all see it. What does it say?
In a village called Rajenka, all the Jews were evicted, forced to leave their homes. For what reasons? It doesn't say. Maybe the Tsar wanted their land, maybe a plague. May the Tsar have his own personal plague.
Amen. What's the matter with you? Why don't you ever bring us some good news?
It's not my fault. I only read it. An edict from the authorities. May the authorities grow like onions with their heads in the ground.
Amen.
What good will your cursing do? You stand around, you curse, and you chatter, and you don't do anything. You'll all chatter your way into the grave.
Excuse me. You're not from this village.
No.
Where are you from?
Kiev. I was a student in the university there.
Tell me, is that a place where you learned how not to respect your elders?
That is where I learned there is more to life than talk. You should know what's going on in the outside world.
Careful, my paper.
Why should I break my head about the outside world? Let the outside world break its own head.
Well put.
He's right. As the good book says, if you spit in the air, it lands in your face.
Nonsense.
You can't close your eyes to what's happening in the world. He's right.
So anyways, fantastic music. L'chaim, If I Were a Rich Man, The Taylor Motel Tom Toil. I highly recommend watching Fiddler on the Roof. You'll learn this is the struggle of Russian Jews. And even in Russian, there's millions of Jews that have interbred into being Russian. As far as in the Ukraine, though, that's where the spillover happened, from the Ukraine all the way down into Israel, and many of us don't know that. And so 725 million is getting spent on this war. And that's the facts. So love thy neighbor and give thanksgiving for everything that you have. Okay? So don't be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God. That's Philippians 4, 6, 7. Psalms 28, the Lord is my strength and my shield. In him my heart trusts, and I am helped. My heart exults, and with my song I give thanks to him. In 2 Corinthians 4, all of this for your benefit, so that the grace of that is reaching more and more people may cause thanksgiving to overflow to the glory of God. Psalms 107, I'll give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever. Psalms 50, offer to God a sacrifice of thanksgiving and perform your vows to the Most High. In Psalms 100, enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him. Bless his name. Bless you. Bless your families. Tell everybody that you love them while they're here. Time does go by so fast. Happy Thanksgiving 2024. We have 55 days left until we are set free, until Orange Man Good with watermelon balls returns into the office. I pray that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy reach out to me so that I can help you clean house there. All right, boys. Amen.